Hi, this is Greg Golda, and you're looking at a presentation made for my website, Media Matrix. Today's presentation is called All Media Are Constructs, and it's one of the pillars of the media literacy movement. And that is a movement that is very important because it seeks to include in the curriculum of American schools courses on understanding media culture. We feel that's very important because students and then young adults and then older adults are kind of left at the mercy of corporate media communications and really have not developed any sense of defense, as McLuhan would have called it, when it comes to advertising, public relations, and the very powerful tool of media production. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about how media is made and manipulated. And I wanted to start with this great quote from George Burns: "Sincerity, if you can fake that, you got it made." And of course, what he was talking about is show business, but pretty much everything today is show business. So let's start with this idea of construction. And the definition here is that an idea or theory contains various conceptual elements, typically one considered to be subjective and not based on empirical evidence. So, the second part here says history is largely an ideological construct. My point today is that media is a construct, that we share media, we engage with media, and when we do, we're creating a kind of alternate reality through media. By selecting how we present ourselves, by selecting how we engage with information in our culture, we're essentially constructing a reality around us. And that reality may be beneficial, it may be hurtful in a lot of ways. So let's take a further look at how things are constructed. When producing media, people make conscious choices. Sometimes there are unconscious choices, but when there's money on the line, you better bet that advertisers and public relations folks are making very conscious, meticulous choices. They're working those things out, they're testing them on audiences, and adjusting the message in order to create the desired effect. And that's the critical part here. What is the desired effect of creating media content? Is making media about pleasing the public, or what is the true effect of it? And I would argue, as most would who look at this stuff, when you're making media content for, say, television, you're making a television show that is meant to attract potential consumers. Not necessarily to the show, I mean, that's the sugar that brings them here, but really what's being sold is the eyeballs to the advertisers. Think of Nielsen ratings, which is an accounting of people watching any given television at any given time. And now, with the advent of the internet and cookie tracking, it's very easy for Google and such large other media companies to sell the consuming public to specific advertisers based on a consumer's clicking and viewing habits. So the elements of an ad campaign are a logo, a cereal box, a politician's image are the result of manipulation of sound, image, graphics, videos, testimonial, and other communication techniques, everything being carefully considered. The media producer manipulates the message for a desired effect. Now, that desired effect doesn't always happen, which is an interesting wrinkle in all of this. It could be that the intended result of the advertising drives people to a product. Sometimes it simply doesn't happen. Let's look at the construction of a media superstar. Jennifer Lopez was born in 1969 and made her grand entrance on the American media scene as a fly girl. She was the second place runner up out of 2,000 plus applicants and, of course, made it to the show. The show she was on was called In Living Color. It's where Jim Carrey and the Wayans brothers got their start and uh, then spread out throughout our mass media in so many different ways over the years. J-Lo, as she's called, has a long career now in movies, and she's had many successes and many failures. And the final look at J-Lo as a media superstar and media construction, we have to consider her private life and her public life and how she manipulates, how the business manipulates, and how the public perceives her. So she's always been very careful to try to give the image of an affluent lifestyle. The use of paparazzi when she is not performing certainly keeps her in the public eye through magazines and television, media magazine type shows. Once she hit a level of recognition, she was ready to start endorsing products, and that's kind of what we're looking at in this presentation as well. The J-Lo brand is now used as a lifestyle endorsement for products like perfume and fashion. The public perception of her is extremely positive. She has mastered the art of public relations, and she supports charitable causes, which also keeps her in the public's view. As a construct, her brand name can move products because of the perception of trust and authenticity. Here we see a small assortment of her products. Down in the lower left corner, we look at her fragrance called Still, and we see a couple of her CD covers. J-Lo The Hits, which is kind of a dreamy cover, and then J-Lo a CD of her material called Same Girl. Notice the font difference. Notice the carefully crafted, highly photoshopped images. And down on the lower one, Same Girl, we see a graffiti style font to elicit a sense of authenticity that she's the same girl she once was, Jenny from the block. And the final image there is her J-Lo Glow. It says Glow by J-Lo at the top of the bottle. And it's a very sensual shape. It's got this kind of necklace around it and sparkling rhinestones, I would assume, depending on how much money people are willing to spend on it. And we see that she has a certain level of quality about the image she's putting out there, from the logo to the bottles to the covers to the font choices to the photoshopping, etc., etc. And now, leveraging that popularity, she has become part of that media machine. She is now a gatekeeper through a television show where she judges others' worthiness to be a major cog in the media machine. I'd like to now draw your attention to two commercials, which I think are pretty incredible. The first commercial here is when J-Lo was on tour with Enrique Iglesias, and they were sponsored by Chrysler for the tour. This commercial, I guess everything like this is supposed to be considered a commercial. This is a commercial for Chrysler featuring the two performers, but in approximately 50 seconds, we see some pretty unbelievable manipulation of the media. So let's take a look at that.
Some of the hottest touring, some of the hottest selling cars. And the excitement continues at your local dealer with a chance to win free tickets.
All right. On first glance at a commercial like that, it's pretty easy just to sit back and let it all happen. But when we look at this commercial and we start to break it down, what do we see? Well, what I saw was there were approximately 73 cuts in 48 seconds, the longest cut being the last shot of the cars. There are scenes where she and Enrique are on the screen at the same time, which means that they are both equal figures in this tour and in this endorsement of Chrysler vehicles. And as we look at the narrative thrust of this commercial, what are they doing? Well, they're getting ready to go on stage and rock the audience. So it's a kind of prep that's going on. How do they get there? Well, they get there and they ride these Chrysler vehicles. And these Chrysler vehicles are part of that implied message of success. Owning the Chrysler gets you to the concert on time, so to speak. So, what is the intended effect of this communication? Well, certainly Chrysler wants to have some of that authenticity that J-Lo has. They want to have some of that excitement from a J-Lo Enrique Iglesias concert, and they want to be part of that. They're probably also spending a lot of money getting that tour off the ground. It takes a lot of money to make them happen. And, Chrysler has seen an opportunity to connect with the audience that it thinks is going to be making those car purchases and supporting them in the future. So in the second J-Lo commercial, we have a pretty incredible, highly refined, special effects driven commercial about this product called Body Lab. And what's really telling about this commercial is the language more than anything else. It's very sparse compared to the last commercial, but it does speak volumes. Here it is.
Somewhere inside, she's there. The healthy you, the fit you, the real you. No matter how long she's been gone, we can bring her back. Together. No more waiting, no more excuses. It's time. Make an investment in yourself. Your confidence, your significance, your happiness. Be who you were meant to be. Be the girl of your dreams with Body Lab. Fitness formulas made for women by women, and a healthy living app with my favorite foods and workouts you'll love. Somewhere inside.
So what did we see in this commercial? Well, it was pretty incredible. J-Lo floating in this heavenly kind of haze, and the language driving it was very interesting. Making an investment, releasing that inner woman, that inner girl that you always knew you were. This is a commercial about rebirth and being born, and she's floating in kind of this symbolic womb waiting for her entry into the world. So there are 16 cuts, and of course, the longest is the shot of the product at the end, where you can download the app and participate in your own rebirth through consuming, losing weight by eating the food that J-Lo endorses and likes. So, what is the intended effect of this communication? It's to show that J-Lo has endorsed this product and is who she is because of it. And if not because of it, that's kind of a naive thing to say that she grew up eating it, because that's not true. Whatever this product is, this supplement, these diet programs, all of these things are supposed to have an effect on you that turns you into what you desire. And that shot of J-Lo gazing into the camera, staring you down, is really what they intend to be the ultimate goal of this commercial. So these are two highly polished constructions, and that is where we're going to leave off on this presentation. So it's a very good way to think about these pieces of media, and how to break them down is a very important skill that we can give to anyone. Counting cuts, thinking about symbology, what kind of effect does the media maker want to have happen through creating this piece of media? When you start thinking about those, you're well on your way to breaking down that construct and understanding how media influences us. I'm Professor Gregory Golda, and this is Media Matrix.